1. All right, everybody, welcome to Argent Alpha Unscripted. We got a special holiday edition today. We got one of our members, Brian Lennon, joining us from what part of Michigan, Brian?
I'm in Detroit, Michigan,
All right.
suburb of Detroit, Bruce Township.
The mean streets of Detroit, or outside the mean streets. Joined too by regulars Clint and Brock. Welcome, guys. Hope you guys had a good
Hey
Christmas.
guys. Hey guys.
So let's kick it off. Brian, I think Brian was in our member spotlight a while back, but that wasn't his peak. Brian just continued to just crush it. And so we thought we'd have Brian on as one of our members to really go deep in his journey with Argent Alpha, some of the results he achieved, some of his personal practices. And so I'm going to kick it off with a question, then we'll just rotate through. But so Brian, you just turned 70 about not quite 2 weeks ago. So when you meet people, friends, and new people you meet, what kind of assumptions do these people usually make, and how do your results challenge those assumptions?
Yeah, most people, if they haven't met me or, whatever, they say 70 years old, okay, he's an old man, right? They have this vision of some old guy, who's got, walking issues and stuff. But, and if people that do see me, you say, I told them, well, yeah, I'm 70, and they look at me and they said, "Holy shit, you got to be kidding me," you know. So I said, "Yeah, I'm 70 years old," So I think really, what's changed, I think for me is I'm in the best shape I've ever been in. I'm 70 years old. I'm in the better shape than I was when I was 30 years old. Seriously,
Incredible.
you know. For me, like I've been working out for 40 years, you know, and it's always been kind of like the same old thing. You go to the gym, you go through your motions. I always maintained like a bandwidth of weight. I never got too fat, never got too thin, you know, and that's just how I function. So today, I look at myself today, um, I weighed myself, I'm 183 pounds. I'm probably, right now about 11% body fat. I range from 9 to 12, and I really like, staying for me, the sweet spot is about 10, and I want to stay there. But man, I'm just, I'm tickled pink, and a lot of that I learned from you guys, you know.
No, that's awesome. Maybe, well, yeah, just give us a quick. So you're 70, 183. How tall are you, Brian?
I'm 6'1".
6'1". Call it 10 to 11% body fat year round. What other sort of physical things? Like, give us an idea, like, I don't know, any sort of fitness stats or training stats that you would say you're proud of as a guy who reached level 70.
Yeah, just as far as I just look at my weekly routine. Every day I do something. I get up. Have breakfast. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes I get into my 18-hour fasting regime. But I get up. I like lifting heavy. I've been doing 5 by 5 exercises. The 5 core exercises. Add in weight. I've been doing that for the past couple months. And Brock, I probably want to talk to you because I'm getting kind of burned out on it. I want to kind of change it up a bit.
Sure, we could
But
freshen it up.
yeah, between focusing on muscle strength, and I forgot to mention, I gained 8 pounds of muscle, in the 15 and no, in the 15, 16 months that when I came in to Argent versus where I'm at today, I've gained 8 pounds of muscle. And for somebody 70 years old, I mean that's like almost unheard of, right? You know, so I want to continue that. And you guys have heard me talk during the weekly, rad meetings. For me, the focus is I want to continue to gain muscle mass. However, it's something we're always chasing, right? It's muscle mass and it's body fat. I want to keep my body fat down to 10%, but I want to add muscle. So you're always playing with that. Oh, I dropped some weight, but shit, there goes another pound of muscle, So I think we all struggle with that, that equation. So
Hey,
Two
real
key
quick.
takeaways that you said there. One, I always do something every single day. I move. Like I love that. The power of consistency it beats intensity every time. We talk about it very often. And the fact that you're 70 years old and putting on muscle, like pretty common misconception is you get past 50 and you can't add any muscle. You're 70 in doing that. That's just incredible.
Yeah, and I tell you, I'm not trying to, to lie or anything. I literally am in the best shape I've ever been in. It's awesome. So yeah, I'm tickled pink, and a lot of this, really, 100% of it I learned from Argent Alpha. I tell you, the biggest game changer for me, guys, was learning how to eat.
Mhm.
Right. When I came in here, I was somewhat of a sugar freak. I'd buy bags of licorice, and I'm just chomping on licorice, and my diet was pretty good. But, thank God my wife was she always has had a fantastic diet. So mine was a little bit behind that, but we always ate somewhat healthy, pretty much. But still, I had the sugar thing, and it wasn't into the calorie, micro macros or anything like that. So yeah, I think that was a huge learning experience for me. Is just the diet part.
Yeah, it's big. Well, we're gonna rotate with some questions. So, Clint, you want to take the next one?
Yeah, for sure. Brian, before joining Argent Alpha about 16 months ago, what made you decide that you didn't want to coast into your 70s?
Uh, it's funny. Years ago, my wife and I and our kids, I had a condo out in Durango, Colorado, and we'd go out there skiing in the winter, and mountain biking in the summer. But going out to Durango, everybody in that town was just very much into fitness. They're running, they're biking, they're kayaking, they're skiing, they're hunting, they're fishing, they're hiking, they're and I told my wife, I said, what I want to do? I said, yeah, I want to get to a point in my life where I can just sell everything, buy a cabin up in the mountains, and become a health freak. Just get up every day, run, hike, but just so that was all. That's kind of been in my mindset for years. You know, and that was like maybe 15, almost 20 years ago. So that's always kind of been in the back of my head. But really, what really made me want to change is my parents. You know, my mom and dad, just very briefly, my dad was a sales manager for a company called Ryerson Steel here in Detroit. It was a massive steel service center, and it was all relationship driven sales because steel is a commodity. So my dad was, and my mom was, she was a fashion coordinator at Saks Fifth Avenue. So they were just like super dynamic people. In fact, my mom was written up in Detroit Monthly Magazine as the most influential person in Detroit for women's fashion. She used to, she dressed all of the celebrities, all of the women on TV. It was all but appointment only. She had her own apartment in Saks Fifth Avenue where all the CEOs' wives went to my mom. You know, so she was just, they were the most dynamic couple you could ever imagine. I mean, they were madly in love with each other. They were just dynamic, full of energy. My dad's company, 65 and out, man. That's it. 65, you retire. He retired. He retired. I mean, he did not. I said, God, you should have been in consulting or something. 65 is pretty young, I think, to retire. At least nowadays, right? So he retired at 65, and I tell you, over the 15 years, my mom retired also, and over 15 years between 65 and 80, it was a downward slope. And I tell you, guys, it was so noticeable. I just watched him lose his mental sharpness, his his walking. He ended up getting Parkinson's disease. Obviously they were part of the what do they call it, the great generation, the greatest generation. that whole generation, they didn't understand. I don't think 99% of them didn't understand exercise. They
Mhm.
cer they were totally into drinking, heavy. I mean, growing up in the 50s and 60s, I mean, they drink liquor, and always had to have your cocktail hour at 5 o'clock, man. You got to have that, and so that, they lived a good life, man. They traveled the world, but they were just on a massive decline. My dad ended up getting, uh, Parkinson's, dementia, totally. And then I tell you, my mom, she was in fairly good shape, but she started to decline, and then it got to the point, it ended up, my dad ended up dying in 2006. 5 months later, my mom went. And I told my wife, I said, when one of them dies, the other one will die in less than a year, because they were just so close to each other. My mom wanted to die, and I think she was so connected to God that she just says, I don't want to live anymore. That's it. And bam, she just turned off. She stopped eating. She just, oh, she died. you know, I mean, it was unreal. So all as they did the past 2 years of their life was going to doctors. I looked at their calendar. I kid you not. It was like doctor that, doctor this, doctor this, doctor this. And it was just like more pills, more pills, more decline, more decline. They were part of the sick care network big time, and it ended up killing them both. But I tell you, that's just that whole generation. They don't understand what we know now, right? It's diet. Diet is everything. Exercise is everything. So that's kind of what really drove me to want to do things different. Now, when I retired, I decided I'm going to be the CEO the rest of my life. When I retired, I do not want to work anymore. I don't want to work for a W-2. And if I'm going to work, I'm going to work for Brian and make me the best product I can possibly be, right? Mentally, spiritually, and physically. I want to be on top of my game. I'm the CEO. I got my KPIs, my standards. No, no, seriously. It's like running a company, right? I got my key performance indicators, which are my A5 standards, and I don't deviate from it. Every Monday we got our RAD meeting, which is kind of like your weekly staff meeting. Hey, are we on our KPIs or not? What do we need to correct? Right? It's like we're running a corporation. So it just became so clear to me, and also the whole concept of future self. Right? I had no idea of how to put context around like future self. Like, oh my God, that's like true north, right? Here's my ultimate goal. Here's what I want to achieve. This is my vision of me at the age of 80, right? And everything I'm doing, it's like Hoshin planning for me, right? Long-term Hoshin planning. So it's like, okay, I know what the total goal and objective is and what I'm trying to reach. And every day I got tactics and methods that are in total alignment with, the true north goal, which is my future self vision. And I learned all that from you guys, seriously.
Man, that's well, you took away the next question, Brock. But I was probably going to ask about future self, but Brock, go ahead and whatever you got in front of you, or just based on what Brian said, fire away.
That was loaded with nuggets, Brian. I got about 50 questions I want to ask you. And you mentioned when you retire or retired, and you're retired. In the term we use here is reinvention and becoming the CEO of your life, having a crystal clear future self. Can you walk us through like what an average day looks like in your reinvention?
Yeah, I would love that, because my average day is it's pretty boring, but it's absolutely perfect for me and what I'm doing. I get up every morning. I first sleep, and Jag, I've been talking to all you guys. I mean, probably for me, the sleep is always that Achilles heel. I'm getting good sleep. I end up napping, which makes up for it. But sleep is so important. Getting 78 hours, good REM, good deep sleep. Sleep is huge. My daily routine is try my best to do the best sleep I possibly can. We go to bed at 8:30 at night. I get up at 6 every morning. I get up. I spend 3 hours every morning just reading and meditating. I meditate for 20 minutes. Prayer, meditation, reading. I tell you, I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So that's from like 6 and 9. Some days I'll have breakfast. Some days if I'm fasting, I won't. Come around 9:30, I go to the gym and then I'll work out. I got my every week I plan my workouts, every Sunday I map them out for the whole week. But the cool thing about, this is going to go into another question, but the cool thing is that I map it out, but it's liquid. There's liquidity in it, right? If I wake up like today, I did 5x5s and I did my 101 push-ups. Okay. Tomorrow, if I don't feel like doing cardio, I may decide to do, buys, tries, shoulder stuff. I'll mix it up, but I still have that roadmap and that plan. And it doesn't mean it's set in stone. But I tell you, every single day, there is no doubt I'm going to be doing something, right? So, so I go to the gym. I come home at 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'll have lunch. I typically have two chicken thighs, two chicken drumsticks, a bowl of yogurt. Um, so that lunch right there is like 100 grams of protein. Right. After that, I take a nap. I lay down and maybe take anywhere from a half hour to maybe an hour. An hour would be rare, but half hour to 45 minutes nap. And I've shared some of this with you guys, online. During that 45-minute nap, it is amazing how much of that time is deep sleep. Have you noticed that?
Mhm.
A little bit, but deep sleep is just like, my God, this is just so good for your cognitive health and everything. So I get up from my nap. In the afternoon, uh, a lot of afternoons, I'll go down to my basement. I'll get on my treadmill, maybe do 20 minutes on the treadmill, 20 minutes on my rower. Then I go into the sauna. Uh, I take my sauna and I meditate in the sauna. I do Wim Hof breath work, and also I do the 4-7-8 breathing method. I do 6 sets of Wim Hof, and I do in between the Wim Hof sets, I do a set of 4-7-8 breathing. And I also integrate japa yoga into that too. I go it's the chanting part of it. So it's trying to get alignment, and I'm getting better at it, but it's like a lifelong thing. So and then by the time I'm done with my sauna, I wash up. I got a little time. I may do some, brain dead stuff. Go on the internet and search things. By that time, my wife gets home typically, from babysitting her grandkids. She gets home, around 5 o'clock. We try to eat dinner before 6. Lots of days we'll go out, walking after dinner, for a couple miles, come back and we're in bed by 8. Man, that's my schedule, almost every day. Um, in fact, I absolutely love it. I really do. Um, so yeah, that's kind of it.
That doesn't sound boring. That sounds like living right there. That's exciting, and the boring in the best ways. And you mentioned liquidity with your workouts and some of the pieces of that. Like what I hear you saying is just like that's your identity. Like you're living this and just kind of letting your body dictate what you do. Especially at age 70, that man, is that important. Love that. I have more questions, but I'll save them. I'll let these guys jump in.
Well, I got a good segue. So we recently had a post on the perfect normal day, and Brian just outlined his, and for anybody who would listen to this taking notes, jot that down and copy and paste it, man. It's like that's how you do it. This is what I love about Brian is talk about a growth mindset. And what I've met, I've met hundreds of men over 50 now since we started this thing. And what I find is with each 5 years, the blinders get like this, myopia sets in. And so the average 70-year-old guy, pick one thing Brian does: the sauna, the yoga and the chanting, the 3 hours of learning. None of those things are probably, well, maybe one of them's there, but to stack all those things, you just don't see it. Guys kind of get into this. They won't say they've given up, but their actions would point towards they're just settling into decline. Just like Brian, you described with your parents. I think that's same with my parents, same with my in-laws, same with everybody from that generation. Constant interaction with the sick care system, managing decline, and basically waiting to die. That's so. What you described is the exact opposite. So the question I have for you is it relates to what we internally called RAD, recurring accountability drivers. And so I'm curious for Brian, when you came in and you kind of got the lay of the land and what we're doing, what role did RAD, and specifically monthly testing, both in body and the fitness standards, just talk about that, how you reacted to it, what you think about it, how it's helped you.
Yeah, I did. For me, when I came in here, I had mentioned I was kind of on auto mode, going through the motions, but really didn't have any direction or guidance or any. I didn't have any data, you
Mhm.
know. Uh, so what Argent Alpha did for me is, and I think it's probably two the two most powerful things is the weekly rad meetings to be accountable to a group of guys that are all like-minded. We're all trying to achieve the same thing, right? We're all trying to be as healthy as we possibly can, as fit as we possibly can. And we're all helping each other. We're all learning from each other. And I'm learning a lot more probably from you guys, but I mean, it's just been an incredible journey. So, really the big thing though is the monthly in-body testing and the A3 monthly standard, exercises that we do. The in-body thing was kind of a game changer for me, and also a motivator. And when I came in here, I had 21% body fat. I weighed 200 pounds. So, I mean, the biggest thing for me was to get to, that 15%, body fat. So, and I worked with Clint actually, on diet. And once I got that diet, dialed in, and I became passionate about this, and I started seeing results. I started seeing, my body fat going from 21 to 19, to 17, and then it got to 16, and then I was like so close. I went the next month, and it was like shit. It went up. I was like, what's going on? So I just had to like relax and say, okay, man, this takes time, right? It takes time. You just keep on, you guys just said, just keep on doing what you're doing, keep on doing. Then all of a sudden, I broke the threshold. I got to 15, and I tell you what happens now is that uh, once you hit that 15, it's just like wow, okay. And then you say, okay, if I did that, you know, it motivates. It's like, okay, if I work harder, and maybe I'm going to do this and this, I could probably get down to 13 or 12, So that's kind of my mindset today is like whenever I do a monthly in-body scan, A3 testing, and I'll talk about that separately. But the in-body scans are the things that really motivate me because let's say after the holiday, my weight is fine right now. I've maintained my weight, but I have a feeling. I mean, you can almost tell, right? That I have a feeling my body fat is probably gone up a little bit. So as soon as I get that report, I think I'm doing it on January 5th. I'm gonna get that report, and that's gonna self-correct. That's gonna kick me in the ass and say, okay, I'm gonna bust my ass to get back down to where I need to be. And I tell you, without that monthly guidance, without the weekly meetings, it's so easy to drift. It's so easy to bullshit yourself, right? Well, yeah, yeah, I'll get to it tomorrow. Or, yeah, tomorrow never comes. It never happens. So having the accountability, the monthly reporting, the data is really the thing that for me is it given me the greatest opportunity to improve and to grow, not only mentally, and physically, but spiritually as well. All the stuff that I've learned and meeting people in this organization and the stuff I'm reading is just it's powerful, very, very powerful.
Clint, you got something? You want
I
to?
do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I do. Well, not a comment, but I do have another question. And everything you said, Brian, is amazing, and your daily routine is just on fire. This is a little off script here on this question, but you talked about being the CEO of your life and for the rest of your life, and you're creating this product and you're measuring the KPIs, you're doing all these things. Your days are filled with an amazing, perfect day. Maybe just a little insight. What are you going to do with that product? What's your plan for the product that you're building? Is there a relevance to that that you part of your future self that you're
Yeah,
building?
there really is, and I think and I know, Jag, you can relate to this. It's lots to do with the grandkids. Our grandkids are, I think, about similar age to yours. I got one that's going to be 4 in February, and one that's going to be, I think she's going to be 3, 3 in February. So they're pretty close in age. But it's so, it's so fun is like I go over there and he just absolutely loves me to pick him up and like throw him in the air, and catch him and throw him in the air and catch it. And he weighs like 40, 45 pounds, or then I'll swing him under my legs, or I'll do leg presses with him, I'll put him on my feet and do leg presses, and so I'm sitting there. So, and Jag, I know you do this stuff too, so it's so cool. Like I'm 70, his other grandfather is younger than me, and there's no way in hell he could do what I'm doing, you know. But my vision, Glenn, no, the reason another that this is probably one of the biggest whys, right? Is I want to be present when I mean this may be a stretch, but I want to be at his wedding. Okay, I mean seriously, I feel that I tell you, I'm not going to be much different at 80 years old than I am right now today. Seriously.
Yeah.
And, so I say, you see these people that are 100, 104 years old, they're part of that generation that never worked out. Think of us, okay, that are eating healthy, we're working out, we're sleeping, we're working on our minds, we all have the opportunity to be really healthy, at 100 years old, you know. So, I mean, that's kind of like the big vision is I want to be, uh, I want to reach that 100-year mark, but still, have a sharp mind and still, be able to walk and drive my car and play with my kids. My grandkids will be much older than, and my wife's in the same mindset. We're both, I actually a lot of this, she started before I did. The whole concept of eating well. She was the one that got me into running, back in the early 80s, so she's in really great shape too. And she's an Argent Alpha, right? She's she's benefiting for all of the stuff that I'm learning, you know, she benefits from it as well. So it's awesome.
One thing, just to add a little third party commentary to what Brian's saying about him, is I'll use our live events. Brian went to both of our live events this year, and we've got guys from 51 to can't remember if Pat showed up at this year's or not. Pat's 78 now, so you might have been the senior one at both, Brian. No, Pat was at the Scottsdale one, so that's right.
Mhm.
Yeah, he was in Arizona.
Yeah, that's right. And so you look at that age range, Pat could technically be a father of, maybe like a guy like Sean Dunn, practically. And so we've got this
Yeah.
range of guys, but every guy in there is doing the same thing. I mean, we in September, we had a 5-hour crucible. We did a 5-hour thing where, it was rucking and weights and body weight stuff. And Brian was there, just like the guys in their 60s and 50s. Well, you were 69 then, so now you'll be the next one. So he's not full of shit. He's telling the truth. All this stuff is legit. We've seen him in real life, because that's the thing about a virtual community. We get together twice a year, and that's where it kind of all comes together. You get to meet guys, see them in action, and you sometimes wonder, like, is there somebody that's going to be kind of like full of BS? And like, nobody that showed up at these events was full of BS. It was like guys are training and coming prepared, bringing their A games. And I think that carries over into the months that follow. And Brian, I mean, maybe talk a little bit about our live events and how they fit into your planning and how you train and how you think.
Yeah, I tell you, and Brock, hats off to you for putting these things together. That event in Minnesota. First, I'll talk about Minnesota, and then we'll go back to Arizona. But Minnesota, always you come in and I did all of, what was it? We had 15 weeks
Mhm.
of challenges, and they were all bizarre challenges. Carrying a kettlebell when you're rocking and doing all this shit. And saying, okay, like, and then all of a sudden when you go to the event, you're carrying kettlebells. So, it's just like, okay, I'm glad now it's coming together now. I see why we were doing that type of training. But the training was critical. Like, Jag, to your point, if people were bullshitting, they would have died, right? They would have died during that event. I think for me, that event was awesome. I really didn't have, actually Clint and I were in the same squad. I think we just kicked ass, didn't we? I mean, seriously. I mean,
We
we were.
100% kicked ass,
I mean,
Brian.
the thing is, Brock, is we did things so quickly. We did a lot more work than the other three squads.
Oh, you sure did. I had to think on my feet to give you guys a whole bunch of extra.
Yeah, I mean, so all of a sudden oh shit, we got to do 1,000 push-ups.
Yeah.
God,
But
Oh,
I
wait,
tell
we
you,
got Brian and Clint in that group. Let's do 1,000 more push-ups. How about
Yeah.
500 more squats?
Hey, I'll vouch
yeah,
for Brian. He's the real
but
deal. And he kept
but I
pushing
tell you,
us. So
absolutely loved it. It was awesome. The thing is, it was all doable, but it was very, very difficult. The sled thing was intense. For me, the hardest thing was that bear climbing up the hill. Oh my God! Thank God we had Nolan in our group, because he had to pick up slack for me. Listen, absolutely could have done it, but we would have been there a lot longer. You know, um, so thank God, he tapped on my shoulder, Brian, you got any, we're good. I said, right. But and then going to Arizona, oh my God, I'll never forget Troy Casey. I mean, that whole event was just like mind blowing. Number one, the guy is just such an eccentric. It was, he was just so interesting to, be around and spend a day with. Uh, but I mean, all of us, walking through the desert barefoot, I will absolutely never forget it. And it was absolutely the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life. And I hope to God I don't have to do. So just tell you, Jacob, I hope that's not on the agenda next time in Arizona.
yeah, no, me too. And I think there's one of the reasons we don't share all the stuff, because I think most guys, including me, would probably hesitate on even doing it. So it was good. I knew that one was coming, but I kind of blocked it out of my head. Hey, what else? What else? Beyond the physical stuff, Brian. What are the things that come to mind from the live event? I'm just curious to hear your takeaways, and what the experience was like.
Okay, I think the two things that came away for me from the live events were really a sense of brotherhood. You when we do the teams meetings, the rad meetings, and it's just not the same as when you're actually physically, with the guys, right? And in Arizona, I mean, that meeting we had on the mount with Omar and with Judge, kind of that discussion around spirituality up on the hill on that morning. I mean, it was powerful. It was very powerful, And the same thing, that I experienced, I think in Minnesota when we got together on Sunday at the park and we did the walk and the sauna and then the plunge in the lake and the breath work and some of the exercises that we did, writing a letter to our future self a year from now and some of the reflections and the honesty from the team members. It's special. Guys are we're all kind of I don't know. We don't get together like that, in emotional kind of environment too often, and it's very comforting to experience that. So I think those are the huge takeaways for me is just bonding and feeling part of a group. Like I say, a pack is much stronger than a single wolf, and that's kind of the feeling you get, man. You just like, man, there's some power here, and what we have is special. That's it. The cool thing is like, it, you know, it's hard to get people to do what we do. I mean, I've explained what we do to many people. I've given books away, but people are funny. They just don't want to commit. They don't want to. You're doing, and if that's it, fine. It's awesome having a group of guys that totally get it, that understand, that are true brothers, that are out there, doing the best we possibly can for ourselves and each other. And hey, that's kind of what I got out of it. It was really more of the bonding with the guys.
Yeah. No, that's great. Well, hey, we'll wrap up here in a second. I'm curious for 2026. We do this 3 words exercise, and I don't know, Brian, if you're doing that one, if you've got your 3 words. I know Clint and Brock do. But as we go into 2026, whether it's 3 words or something else, like if it's a year from now, December 30th, 2026, give us some highlights of what happened for you personally.
Yeah, and I'm waiting for my big ass calendar. I got my dry erase markers, but I got things in my head really what I want to focus on. And the 3 words I really don't have really quite yet as far as what would be appropriate for next year.
Mhm.
But I really want to focus more next year on doing more VO2 max stuff, more endurance things. Because I just don't do enough of sweating. I go and work out, and most of the stuff I do is you know level 1, level 2. I don't get to that point where my heart rate's going, where I'm running and where I'm sprinting. So this year I'm going to be focused more on integrating that type of activity into my weekly plan. Another thing that I'm very very poor at is the mobility work, you know, the stretching, get the balls out and the rollers out.
I can't unhear that, Brian. I can't unhear that.
And I know, Brock, you're a huge believer in it. And I think you made a statement, and maybe I heard from Jay or something on one of the rad calls, but you said, with especially at my age, if I don't do it, it's like a muscle pull waiting to happen. And I tell you, that's the last thing I want to have happen. See, when I work out, like I said, I keep it kind of fluid, because if I feel like just a little bit where I'm starting like, oh man, that doesn't feel quite right, I'm going to back off, man. I'm going to back off, and I'm going to stretch, or do it. But I have to do it more. It has to be part of a schedule. I have to plan it, and I have to be disciplined about it. Just like my 3-hour sessions in the morning, my rating, I absolutely have to carve out every day. Like, this is non-negotiable. I'm going to spend 45 minutes down. I got everything I got all the bands, I got the tools, I got the balls, I got it all right down there. It take me 1 second to get down there. Do I do it? No.
You answered the question I was going to ask you next anyway. What is your greatest opportunity for this next year? And I think you may have just said it right there. And you
Yeah.
might be able to couple it with your 3 hours in the morning. Maybe think about that.
Pardon me?
You might be able to couple it with your 3 hours in the morning.
That's exactly what I wanted. In fact, what I do is I follow savers, right? And you guys are familiar with that. And one of the the E is in savers is exercise. So what I need to do is take that and say mobility and put 30 minutes, 30 minutes every single morning. That's all I have to do, you know. So I'm going to do it. So I'm making
doubt
it
about that.
public. I'm making it public. I am going to do it. And yeah.
This is going to
Hey,
be
another thing. Hey, Jag, another thing too. I did my 100 push-ups today. Got 100 more tomorrow, and then we're done with push-ups.
yeah. Then we move on to the January bingo blackout challenge, which is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, hey, this is great. I don't have any more questions right now. I think we're going to wrap it up. But do want to say, everybody listen to this. Whether you're 30 years old, 70 like Brian, follow this silverback gorilla's example. I mean, this guy is leading the charge. There's something we can all learn from what he's doing, and it's never too late to start. So, if some of the stuff Brian talked about is intimidating to you, Brian was a beginner. I was a beginner. Clint was a beginner. We should all be a beginner at something. If you're not a beginner, you can't learn. If you're not a beginner at something, you're stuck with just what you're stuck with. So Brian already gave two things. VO2 max. How many 70-year-old guys are talking about improving their VO2 max? Yeah, probably one at least. That's it. That's all I know. And then talking about mobility. So I think that's. I mean, there's so many takeaways here, but Brian, thanks for joining us, and congrats too on your success. You're leading from the front, man, and we can all learn from you, and really appreciate you being a big part of the community.
Yeah, appreciate you guys immensely. So have a great day, and we'll keep at it.
Keep up that amazingly boring routine you got going.
That's right.
I got one comment, Brian. We're all chasing your taillights. How many pull-ups do we need to do at 70 to keep up?
Actually, pull-ups. I'm still not great. I can get like 6.5.
That's pretty good. That's
Maybe that would be a good 2026 thing, is get to the point where I can do 10, right?
Yeah.
10 full pull-ups. I could do 6.5 full pull-ups. I could do burpees all day long, a lot of,
you can.
So yeah.
Nice. All
That's
right.
awesome.
Thanks.
All right, guys. Thanks. Have a great new year. We'll see you in 2026.
Okay.
See you guys.
See you guys.
Thank